A man named Charlie is working on an old plane. Sarah. She enters, suitcase in hand, to say goodbye. She's heading off for a business trip in London. She invites Charlie to join her, but he gently declines. After she leaves, Charlie heads to his workplace, an intelligence agency where he's known for inventing security systems. He passes through the very scanners he helped design, then settles in at his desk. Not long after, Charlie gets a familiar ping on his screen. It's a coded message from someone who's been feeding him sensitive information for years. The sender, using the alias Inquiline, warns him that the new files they're sharing are especially dangerous. Charlie tries to guess where the message is coming from. During a call from Sarah letting him know she's safely arrived, Charlie doesn't reveal that he's been quietly tracking her movements. He's distracted, still focused on the encrypted data. Determined to crack it, he takes the files into a more restricted lab with higher computing power. Finally, after long hours of work, the files begin to open, and what he finds shakes him to his core. The documents describe a covert military operation, one that was never meant to be made public. His direct supervisor, Moore, appears to be involved. That night, Charlie tries calling Sarah, but she doesn't pick up. He leaves her a voicemail. The next morning, Moore greets him at work and escorts him to a meeting with the new director, O'Brien. She shares news of a tragic incident abroad, one that involved Sarah. Charlie is stunned. He tries to deny it, asking for confirmation, and Moore shows him the news footage. It shows a terrifying scene, and eventually, Sarah among the victims. Returning home, Charlie finds the press gathered outside and the police managing the chaos. A friend helps him slip into the house unnoticed. Days pass, and the weight of the incident crushes him. When he finally receives Sarah's belongings, he finds a small gift she'd bought for him. Overcome with emotion, he breaks down. Unable to sit still any longer, Charlie returns to work. He gains access to camera footage from the event and begins mapping out what really happened. He reconstructs the timeline and presents his findings to his superiors. It becomes clear that the attackers were no amateurs. They moved with precision, erased all traces of themselves, and had ties to people from different parts of the world. Among them, Charlie identifies all four. But when he shares this information, his bosses show little surprise. That's when he realizes they might have already known. Suspicious, he pushes for answers. Instead, they tell him to take a break and suggest he see a therapist. Charlie then smuggles a chip into the building by hiding it inside his ID badge. Back in his office, he quietly prints the confidential documents and uses a hidden device to make digital copies. That evening, he visits a bar and spends time observing an old jukebox, his mind clearly spinning with a plan. The next morning, he confronts Moore and Caleb with the files. He lays everything out: missions that went wrong, lives lost, and operations that never should have happened. He doesn't threaten them directly, but makes it clear that if anything happens to him, the evidence will be released to the world. He demands training, resources, and information in return. Moore believes Charlie is bluffing, but Caleb warns that the risk is too high. They begin investigating how Charlie got the files out. Eventually, they realize he may have used the office printer and a magnetic device. Reviewing surveillance footage, they confirm Charlie made purchases that align with the theory, but they're still unsure how he bypassed security. They dig deeper and find Charlie visited a local bar multiple times. Inside the jukebox, they discover a music CD that contains strange data. It becomes clear Charlie hid the files there. Meanwhile, Charlie is taken to a training center where a man named Henderson begins pushing him through tough exercises. Charlie struggles with shooting, but shows impressive skill in electronics and bomb making. Henderson tests Charlie's memory and endurance. Charlie holds up under pressure. When Henderson asks Charlie if he's really ready to take a life, Charlie wavers. His hands shake. He lowers the weapon. Back at headquarters, agents crack the CD and find no trigger for the supposed data release. They realize Charlie was bluffing, but before they can act, Charlie is already gone. It turns out the chip he smuggled in was a listening device. He'd planted it on the documents, giving him a way to eavesdrop. Moore calls Henderson and orders Charlie's arrest, but he's already escaped. Moore finally sees the bug and knows Charlie has outplayed them, for now. Charlie heads to Europe under a fake name. Once there, he starts tracking one of the individuals connected to the earlier event. He follows clues and patterns and eventually tails someone through the streets, slipping into their building when a tenant opens the door. He carefully searches the apartment and takes photographs of personal notes and schedules. When the target returns, Charlie hides, torn between revenge and restraint. In the end, he backs off. At his hotel, he replays memories of Sarah and tries to make sense of it all. Charlie visits the hospital in disguise and gains access to the medical room. He attempts to use the condition as leverage, but things don't go as planned. A struggle erupts. The target escapes and runs into the street, only for fate to intervene. Shaken, Charlie grabs the phone left behind and retreats. With more clues in hand, he continues his journey, each step bringing him closer to the truth. The agency, now aware of Charlie's moves, begins tracking him again. Henderson, too, is sent to intervene. Charlie keeps moving, from Spain to Turkey to Eastern Europe, changing names, leaving traps, and staying one step ahead. He reaches out to Inquiline, who agrees to help. They meet, carefully avoiding surveillance, and she reveals how her past is tied to all of this. Her late husband was once part of the intelligence world, and his death pushed her into a life on the run. Inquiline and Charlie become a team. She helps him locate the remaining names on his list,